Every year, the calendar flips, and we engage in, well, the same predictable ritual.
The New Year's resolution.
Exactly. It's often fitness-related. We're going to train 5 days a week, eat perfectly, and just transform our lives starting Monday.
And inevitably, right around what, the second week of February?
That's the wall. The motivation just evaporates. The numbers are frankly brutal.
Oh, they're staggering.
Yeah.
Roughly 80% of those ambitious commitments are abandoned.
80%.
And if you are the learner, someone who values efficiency and data, that 80% failure rate should scream one thing at you.
Which is?
This is not a failure of character. This is a systemic failure of design.
A failure of design.
The strategic analysis we pulled from Sundried emphasizes this so clearly. We should be treating sustainable training like an engineering problem.
Absolutely. The whole idea that we just need more willpower is, it's fragile, it's outdated.
Pure myth.
So our mission today is to ditch that concept and give you the frameworks for what we're calling the long game.
Right. Systems designed for consistency over decades, not just a frantic push for the next 3 months.
And we're unpacking this detailed analysis from Sundried, focusing entirely on how to build a resilient behavioral ecosystem.
We're moving beyond simple intentions. We're going to look at why your own brain, fights your best efforts.
And how to architect goals that can actually survive real life.
Exactly. And how to respect the physical limits of your body so you don't just break down mid-system.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the psychological setup, because that initial burst of motivation that drives January 1st is, well, it's entirely deceptive.
It really is. It's often called the fresh start effect.
The fresh start effect.
Temporal landmarks, New Year's Day, a birthday, the first of the month, they provide this feeling of a clean slate. And that feels good. You feel this massive surge of possibility.
But that sounds counterintuitive. I mean, if I genuinely feel motivated, why isn't that enough to carry me through?
That's the core question.
What's actually happening in my brain that makes that feeling so fleeting?
Well, the key insight here, and is one that the Sundried content really highlights, is the neurobiological reality. That initial motivation is largely dopaminergic.
Dopaminergic, okay.
The dopamine hit you get from planning the perfect week, from buying the new gym gear, and visualizing the outcome. It feels psychologically identical to the satisfaction of achieving the goal.
Wait, so my brain is rewarding me for the idea of the work, not the actual work itself?
That's it. You've basically been paid up front.
That's a total setup for failure.
It is. The brain is geared for immediate reward and survival, not sustained, delayed gratification effort like training for 3 years.
So once that dopamine spike is gone...
Once that powerful temporary spike subsides, and it always does, typically within 3 to 6 weeks, the requisite neural pathways, the actual ingrained habits are just not there. When we confuse feeling motivated with having established discipline.
That distinction is so crucial, and this is exactly where false hope syndrome kicks in, right?
Precisely. You take that initial rush and you set these goals that are just wildly unrealistic.
You've been sedentary for 12 months, and now you're resolving to train 6 days a week. Overhaul your whole diet.
And learn a new language.
Yeah.
These goals are fundamentally misaligned with your actual physiological capacity and your lifestyle constraints.
Which creates what the sources call a dangerous commitment gap.
And that gap relies solely on that fragile willpower, which we know is a finite resource.
If we think about the physics of behavior, we have to talk about activation energy.
Yes, think of it like friction in a machine. Activation energy is the total effort it takes to start a new routine.
Okay.
So if the friction of changing, waking up an hour early, prepping meals, just the logistics, if that exceeds the perceived pain of not changing,
the system collapses.
The barrier to entry is just too high, the default behavior staying home, it always wins.
And the other psychological trap, and I think this hits high achievers especially hard, is what we call the binary trap.
The all-or-nothing cognitive distortion.
Yes.
That's the mindset where you have a rigid plan. Train Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you miss Monday because of a late meeting, what happens?
The internal dialogue kicks in. The plan is broken. This week is ruined.
And that one slip triggers a total abandonment cycle. It just erases all the progress.
I think everyone listening has been there. You eat one cookie, so you think, well, I might as well eat the whole box, right?
Exactly. And this is why Sundried advocates so strongly for flexible consistency.
Flexible consistency. I like that.
You have to remove the moral weight from these minor slip-ups. If you miss Monday, Tuesday is just a data point. It's not a catastrophe that means you have to restart the entire program from scratch.
You just adjust and continue rather than quit.
Right.
So we've established that relying on motivation is basically a psychological collapse waiting to happen. But what does a better psychological safety net look like? We need better architecture.
We need to move from those flimsy intentions to really sophisticated goal-setting frameworks. Traditional resolutions are almost always outcome goals. Lose 10 kilograms or deadlift 150 kilos,
The big finish line.
the big finish line. And while outcomes are motivating, meta-analyses consistently show that process goals are vastly superior for long-term adherence.
That sounds like a subtle shift in language, but I'm guessing it's critical. What's the difference?
Well, process goals focus on the execution of specific, controllable behaviors. You don't control the number on the scale next month, but you absolutely control whether you showed up today.
So a good process goal would be.
A strong one would be, I will attend 3 strength training sessions this week, or I will spend 15 minutes on mobility every morning.
I see the immediate benefit there. It reduces the cognitive load. You're not constantly stressed about a future number,
You're celebrating completing the session itself.
which provides that immediate tangible reinforcement and keeps the dopamine flowing in the right way.
It makes the goal immediate and achievable, and when obstacles inevitably pop up, the old SMART goal framework, it often just isn't robust enough.
We need contingency planning.
We do. And this is why the sources point us toward the WOOP framework as a really robust alternative.
Well, that's wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. Here's where it gets really interesting. Because the power, as I understand it, is all in that final P for plan.
That's it. It uses if-then logic.
If-then logic.
Right. It leverages what psychologists call implementation intentions. So you follow the 4 steps. After you identify your wish and visualize the outcome, you force yourself to honestly identify the obstacle. This is the step most people skip.
So an example would be,
Obstacle. I often run late at work, and if I miss my window, I just skip the gym.
so instead of pretending that won't happen, you plan for it.
You embrace it, exactly.
Mm.
And the plan becomes this automated, preloaded response using that if-then logic.
Yeah.
If I'm stuck at work late, then I will execute a 20-minute bodyweight circuit immediately when I get home.
That is genius because it completely eliminates decision fatigue.
Yes.
When you get home tired, you don't have to debate what to do. The decision was already made when you were fresh and rational. That automation is key.
It automates the response to adversity. If the unexpected happens, you already have a default low-friction solution ready to go. And that is a primary goal of building a system.
But the best psychological system in the world still fails if the hardware, our body, breaks down.
Sure.
We have to address the physiological side of this. People ramp up way too fast, driven by that initial dopamine rush, and their body just rebels.
You cannot let ambition outpace biology. That is the quickest way to get injured.
We have to remember that our musculoskeletal system, tendons, ligaments, it adapts far slower than our cardiovascular system.
Which brings us to the principle of gradual progression. According to the guidance from Suntried, the critical strategic threshold here is the 10% rule.
Okay, the 10% rule. That sounds useful for a learner who wants clear metrics. Can you elaborate?
It suggests you should aim to increase your total training volume or intensity by no more than 10% per week.
Just 10%.
This manageable increase gives your slower adapting tissues, like your rotator cuff tendons or your Achilles time, to catch up to your fast-adapting lungs and muscles. Violating this rule is the single biggest cause of overuse injuries.
And we should clarify, right? Progressive overload isn't just about lifting heavier weights.
Oh, not at all.
That 10% increase can be applied in different ways.
Absolutely. You can increase the time under tension, you can decrease rest periods between sets, or you can simply improve your biomechanical form under the same load. The goal is just to make the task incrementally harder, but safely, within that 10% risk threshold.
Okay, so since we're playing the long game, the multi-decade game, we have to talk about strategic recovery,
Yes.
which can feel so counterintuitive to high performers.
Right.
Let's talk about the deload.
The deload is not laziness. It is recovery as active calibration.
Active calibration. I like that.
If you are training hard, you are accruing fatigue, particularly in your central nervous system. A deload week is essential for periodization. It's a planned reduction in volume, usually 30 to 50%, while you try to maintain intensity.
But I can hear the listener pushing back right now. A high achiever thinks, a deload sounds like a massive productivity hit. Why would I voluntarily cut my volume?
Because you cannot express your true fitness level if you are always drowning in fatigue. The analogy is simple. If you pull a bowstring back too tight for too long, it snaps. The deload lets the CNS fully recover, and that accumulated fitness you built up actually gets a chance to express itself.
So you come back stronger.
You come back stronger. For the average dedicated athlete, a planned deload every 4 to 8 weeks is non-negotiable for longevity.
That's a powerful reframing. Recovery isn't a pause from training, it's an active part of training.
Precisely.
And speaking of survival tools, for the busy professional, for those high-stress weeks where you just cannot manage a full schedule, the minimum effective dose concept is a lifesaver.
The MED concept is so critical for consistency. It tells us that significant strength and fitness gains can be maintained or even slowly achieved with vastly reduced volume,
As long as...
as long as the intensity of the work that remains stays relatively high.
Okay, so if I typically train for, say, 3 90-minute sessions a week, what would an MED protocol look like during a crazy work travel week?
You might switch to 2 30-minute sessions where you only focus on your absolute highest priority lifts or movements.
So you're preserving frequency and intensity, not volume.
Exactly. This is the ultimate lifeline during stress. Instead of quitting entirely, which breaks the habit, you switch to an MED protocol. You keep that neural pathway active until your capacity returns, which guarantees zero attrition.
So we've covered the psychology of not quitting and the physiology of not breaking. Now let's talk environment.
Right.
Because as we've established, willpower is a fragile, unreliable resource. We need systems.
We need to manipulate our surroundings to make the desired behavior the easiest possible path. This is environmental engineering.
And the core technique the sun-dried research highlights is habit stacking.
Yes, it's the ultimate way to outsource your memory and your willpower.
Explain the mechanism there for the learner. How does that work?
You attach a new desired behavior to an already established neural pathway, a habit you already do without fail every single day.
So you stop relying on motivation.
And you start relying on a dependable cue.
The formula is beautifully simple. After current habit, I will new habit. Give us a practical, low-friction example.
Let's use the morning routine. After I pour my morning coffee, which is a habit you will never, ever skip, I will do 2 minutes of mobility work.
So the coffee maker itself becomes the cue.
It becomes an ironclad cue. It just removes all the friction needed to start that new mobility practice.
And we can extend that beyond time-based triggers to our physical space, which you called the architecture of choice.
Right, physical and digital cues to lower that activation energy.
What's a physical cue?
If you know you need to go for a run at 6 a.m., placing your running kit, shoes, water bottle, everything, right next to your bed the night before. That's a massive physical cue.
It removes 30 seconds of decision-making when you're groggy.
Or placing your gym bag by the front door. Simple things.
And digitally, we can use our professional environment against ourselves in a good way.
Oh, absolutely. Schedule your workouts as non-negotiable meetings on your professional calendar.
Treat it like a meeting with your boss.
If you treat that 4 p.m. workout block with that same respect, your brain and your colleagues get the signal that this time is protected.
It also ties into the idea of commitment contracts, doesn't it?
It does. Public commitments, even staking money on a goal, leverages behavioral economics. We are often more motivated by the fear of losing money or reputation than by the prospect of gain.
The reality is, though, that consistency challenges vary so widely depending on your lifestyle. A 5-day plan is great, but what if you're traveling constantly or you're stuck at a desk?
A one-size-fits-all approach is just doomed to fail. And that's why the sun-dried analysis highlights these high-impact protocols engineered for time-poor professionals. For the executive with an erratic schedule, we focus on what they call the executive protocol.
Which is micro-workouts or exercise snacking. I love that term.
It's great, isn't it?
How efficient is that, really? I mean, does a 3-minute burst actually count?
Well, research shows that short, intense bursts of vigorous activity, if you do them throughout the day, can yield comparable cardiovascular benefits to longer, continuous sessions.
Really?
Think vigorous stair climbing for brief, intense periods, maybe 3 times a day. Studies show this reliably improves VO2 max and insulin sensitivity. You integrate the activity into existing pauses.
That's maximizing efficiency. Okay, and for the desk-bound professional whose main risk is that musculoskeletal degradation from sitting all day.
For them, it's about integration rather than separation.
The desk-bound protocol.
Exactly. It encourages converting one-on-one meetings or team catch-ups into walking meetings.
Which is incredibly effective at increasing your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT.
NEAT being, everything you do outside of structured exercise and sleep.
So you're managing the sedentary risks of modern office life while you're still collaborating. It keeps the system running.
It's just smart integration.
Yeah.
You don't need to carve out extra time. You simply repurpose the time you already have.
Wow. This has been a complete journey. We've successfully ditched that fragile motivation-based model,
For a resilient, system-based one.
one that accounts for psychology, physiology, and environment.
If we look back at the most actionable takeaways from this whole strategic analysis we reviewed today, I think we have two anchors for you, the listener, right now.
Okay, number one, ditch the all-or-nothing mindset.
Please.
Embrace flexible consistency. 50% of a workout is infinitely better than zero. A process goal achieved is a success, period.
And secondly, schedule your deloads. Plan a lighter week every 4 to 8 weeks. Recovery is not a luxury or a sign of weakness.
It's active calibration.
It's active calibration that prevents burnout and injury, and it keeps you in the game for the long haul.
So what does this all mean?
It means that the failure of the New Year resolution is predictable because it relies on the finite resource of willpower.
Which always runs out.
There are robust systems we've outlined, process goals, WA, deloads, the minimum effective dose. They make success manageable, adaptable, and resilient.
So the ultimate measure of success is not perfection for 3 weeks.
But relentless consistency for 3 decades.
It's about engineering a system that you can't fail.
If professionals rely on periodization, on contingency plans, on process goals to manage their careers, they should use that same rigor for their own bodies. So if you want to put this knowledge into action immediately, here's a provocative closing thought.
Let's hear it.
What is one established habit you already do every single day? And what small 2-minute, low-friction action could you habit stack onto it right now, removing the reliance on tomorrow's fleeting motivation? Start building that system today.